This is a speed test for the HTC 10, the LG G5, the Samsung Galaxy S7, and the Nexus 6P running Android N Developer Preview 3. All of these phones have been factory reset. None of these phones have SIMs in them. If there were SD cards in them, they've also been removed. For today's test, I will be running a number of basic apps and seeing which one can cycle through them the quickest. I won't be doing anything too processor heavy or GPU heavy. I'll save that for another video. The HTC 10, the LG G5, and the Samsung Galaxy S7, all three of these phones run on Snapdragon 820 processors with 4 gigs of RAM. The Nexus 6P runs on a Snapdragon 810 version 2.1 processor with 3 gigs of RAM. The Nexus 6P is a generation behind, but I want to see how it still stacks up to three of these phones, especially because this is on stock Android. One last thing to note, I will only be adding the apps that are going to be used for the speed test. I'm not going to be disabling any apps, I'm not going to be uninstalling any other apps as well. I'm going to leave everything else stock. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. The HTC 10 pretty much flew through the entire speed test. It opened all the apps quickly and kept the apps in the background the entire time. I think every single app. I'll have to double check. Now the other three phones came in a little later, around 7 or 8 seconds, but still, let's get this straight. All four of these phones are super fast, super responsive, and they work really well as far as performance goes. Again, the difference between the HTC 10 and these three phones is the way the apps open, and the way the apps kept itself in memory. The Galaxy S7 and the G5 opened apps quickly and they kept most of the apps in the background, in memory. But I noticed on the Samsung, when Amazon was running, that seemed to reopen itself. That didn't save in the background. And on the G5, what I noticed on the G5 is all of these apps open super fast, like really responsive the first time around. But in the second round, it looked like many of the apps were reopening again. Now the Nexus 6P actually worked a little opposite here. It took a little time to open every single app, but after that, in the second round, it had all the apps in the background. Again, I'll have to double check on that as well. I was actually expecting all four of these phones to have similar times, probably the Nexus 6P maybe a couple seconds back, but I didn't expect the HTC 10 to lead by that much. And you have to give kudos to the HTC 10 because not only do the apps open quick, but they stay in the background. I don't know if that's contributed to less bloatware on the HTC 10. Remember, the version I have of the HTC 10 is the unlocked one. There's no additional carrier bloatware, and they made more efforts this year to get rid of extra like duplicate apps. The S7 and G5 both come from T-Mobile, and they have their typical like T-Mobile bloatware. As far as the 6P goes, of course, this is like the stockest of the stock you'll get for Android. And to see the 6P pretty much keep up with the S7 and G5 with last year's generation specs really explains a lot in the software department. Can you imagine if the 6P was running stock Android with an 820 Snapdragon processor and 4 gigs of RAM? I'm pretty sure the results on this would be a lot different.
Oh man, oh man, oh man.